Welcome, everyone, to our event today. I want to thank you all for taking the time to attend with us and learn a little bit about what we do here at Stride. Now, a little bit of information for you before we kick off the content. There will be an upcoming training this Tuesday for any of you that want to join Stride and get started with what we do here. So just keep in mind, make sure that you get started immediately after today's event. There will actually be a link just down below. Don't go there yet, though. You will lose the live stream if you click on it now. So just wait until after the event, but you can use that button down below to get started, and we'll get you included in Tuesday's upcoming training to learn everything you need to get going with us. Now, before we dive into the call today and the live event, I would like to have a little bit of feedback for you all from an agent here with us. So I'd like to welcome on Kate to share a little bit of feedback for you all.
I'm Kate Johnson, the founder of CFP Advisors and proud team leader with Stride Savings. With 20 years of business consulting experience, I've assisted thousands of businesses and professionals to connect to resources designed to protect their business, cut costs, grow, and thrive. 6 years ago, I came across Stride and was blown away by how much a simple all-in-one solution can quickly calculate and conceptually show access to massive savings that often go uncaptured. Fast forward to today, the tax management system is even more innovative. Personally, I've helped a wide variety of businesses capture massive revenue, adding up to millions of dollars. My clients range from construction, manufacturing, healthcare, and hospitality to retail and transportation. I have one client right now who stands to realize over $240,000 in federal tax incentives just because they've kept their TMS survey link active for over a year. I have commercial property owners circling back a second year in a row, asking for second cost segregations and asking for R&D. I'm contacted by companies that I've never heard of by third parties. I have CPA clients and have developed amazing strategic alliance partnerships that consider me their go-to, all because I've been able to disrupt and bring value to their clients like they've never seen. TMS is dynamic, and paired with such an amazing support team, I couldn't ask for a better way to show a business owner how to increase their revenue. The idea that any one of you can offer such a massive, all-in-one, simple cash flow solution to over 33 million Main Street businesses ravenous for revenue is an opportunity you don't want to miss. I hope you take the keys handed to you, pretend like it's your favorite car, and throw out the manual. Just get in, drive fast, and have fun. Good luck.
I want to thank Kate for sharing her experience with you all. And now to get into the bulk of why you're here today, I'd like to hand things off to Ryan Maddock and Jason Zigarelli. Ryan and Jason, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, hello. I'm Jason Zigarelli, and this is my partner, Ryan Maddock. And we are thrilled to have you here with us today as we talk to you about who we are and what we do. We talk to you about Stride. And listen, I know you've received volumes and volumes of solicited and exciting language. We're certainly going to deliver on every bit of that today and then some. So again, without further ado, let us dive into talking a little bit about who we are, what we do, and what it is we're bringing to the table. And we hope to engage with each and every one of you on. So Ryan, let's start talking about, on today's call, we're going to talk about disruptive services, right? The nature of what it is we're bringing to the table and how it's so disruptive in the market space and how that disruption makes you, yes, we use the language unicorn. That language, in fact, those dynamics make you a unicorn in the market. We're going to talk about groundbreaking delivery systems and application, making this incredible market disruption the easiest thing you've ever done. In fact, Ryan, we can talk about how they're going to be up and running in a matter of minutes.
In fact, one of the things we're going to teach towards is this upcoming Tuesday, just a few short days from now, Jason and I are doing a private training. And the whole focus of that training is going to be earning you your first bit of income right away. So
absolutely. And we're so proud of being able to take sophisticated ideas, powerful strategies, groundbreaking innovation, and bring it into and consolidate it down, right? Refine it down to such simple topics, simple points that you can learn, that you could absorb, and you can be successful with immediately. Immediately following that call on Tuesday, you're going to be in a position to change your life, the life of your family, your practice, if you're a professional, using us to open doors and create a future, the likes of which you've only dreamed about. Yes, minutes following that Tuesday call, you're going to be in a position to capitalize on all of that. And on top of everything else we're going to describe today, one of the things you want to understand is that with this opportunity, with who we are and what we do and what we're bringing to the table in partnership with each and every one of you, what we're bringing to the table is an environment wherein you have zero competition. So
Yeah.
as we work our way through this, Ryan, and we talk about all the things we've done and how we've refined this down to take these complex, amazing, as I said moments ago, groundbreaking ideas and make them so simple. When you add to it the fact that our consumer market, our 33 million consumer facilities that already desire to work with you, they simply need to know that you exist and that you have these things. Not only all of that, but that you're able to do this in an environment wherein you have exactly zero competition. So let's talk about this in greater detail. Let's first.
I think let's start with the problem, with the story, with people understanding what it is, because anything successful, you look through history, it comes back down to the fact of solving a problem. And that's really where we started a few decades ago. And so, let's talk about that a little bit. What problem are we solving, Jason?
And I love that idea, Ryan. I mean, that's been at the hallmark of everything we do. And one of the things we've talked about with advisors for over 2 decades, that's the other thing I want to talk to you guys about. While this is a new strategy, new system, this is innovation for you, we're not new.
No.
Right? We've been doing this a real long time, haven't we? Over 2 decades. Now, he may not look like it, but I do. You can see the miles.
I hide my gray hair well, so
I don't even have it to hide. So listen, over 2 decades, we've been doing this. And one of the things we set out to do early on, and the innovation that we wanted to bring to the table in a coaching and training we provide advisors, is we sit back and we decided, listen, guys, you can beat your head against the wall and do what everybody else has always done and try to convince other people that they want to have what you want to sell them as bad as you want to sell it to them. Or instead, you can find a way to get paid to give people what they already want. Right? Which one's easier?
yeah,
We know.
we want to be out there getting paid, doing what you're already doing. And that's my problem. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to talk about this is my main fundamental problem with most side gigging. I won't say any more than that now, because we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely. So let's talk about our target market. Let's talk about business owners and the business owner community, right? We all know, and honestly, everything associated with COVID and all that's going on in the world is top of mind right now. But the reality is, again, Ryan and I have been doing what we do for over 2 decades. And for over 2 decades, there's been an issue on Main Street, an enormous issue, and a trajectory that Main Street's been on that was highly detrimental for itself, right? And so when we step back and we look at Main Street, we look at the dynamics that they've been dealing with. Let's go back in our time machine to 2019, the data, the stats that existed back then. So now when we talk about 2019, what do we know? Well, all the data from the various business brokerage entities, the different fields in economics, the different educational centers, be they our universities or other forms of statisticians that took a look at this market, what we had was an explosion on Main Street that correlated with the veterans and the folks returning from World War II, right? As you come back from World War II, we have these folks that are very, very, very happy to be home. And we had the baby boomers, right?
Yeah.
And so with the baby boomers and the ongoing industrialization that occurred in this country and the second stage industrialization, resulting in more and more people going for secondary education and learning skills and services, we saw a prolific explosion on Main Street. And the whole world changed as a byproduct of that. Of course, America continued its trajectory and turned into the financial and economic and patent innovation juggernaut that it was. And we developed a Main Street-based community that was uber powerful in the world. In fact, Main Street, up to and including 2019, employed 62% of Americans, controlled 44% of the GDP, et cetera, et cetera. Main Street was exceedingly powerful. But with this dynamic also comes, well, if we have all of these folks within this confined window of time launching into enterprise and building up Main Street, what we also have when you now jump forward through the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and right, all the way up to, again, 2019. The focal point that we wanted to focus on for purposes of this is we have an aging out dynamic. We have 32 million Main Street businesses that are disproportionately owned by baby boomers that as of 2019, were all entering their 60s, mid 60s, 70s, early 70s. Remember, a demographic, a generation is not 1 year, it's not 5 years, it's not 10 years, generally close to a 20-year time frame. And so you're going to cover this time gap, depending on whose statistics and stylistic approach you take to identifying a generation. So that means that as you've got folks, even if we step it back and call it a 15-year generation, you have folks that as they're 65, their peers on the upper end of that are 80 years old. Well, I don't know about you, Ryan. I'm not 80, but
No.
I can't do what I did yesterday.
No, not only do we have the pressure that you're dealing with where say they've got the age pressure, we're also dealing with a time where it's easier to get out than ever and it's more difficult to stay in than ever. You think about the pressures of supply chain. You think about the pressures of inflation. I mean, we've been hearing about inflation my entire life, but look at what they're dealing with now. And then you have the labor workforce crisis, all these other things. You look, say, it's so hard. And if I was in that situation, it's so easy to just say, you know what, it's time to just take a step back. But as you mentioned, this is a huge distress because we cannot afford to leave the US just at the hands of the mega corporations for so many reasons.
No, and we're going to continue getting into that throughout this call and all subsequent calls. But as we jump back to 2019, so when we see this aging out demographic and we look at timeframes, be they the traditional age of retirement that everybody has in mind, which is 65 years of age, be it the simple fact that we're aging out and folks just don't have the time, the energy, the resources that they had in their youth, right? Again, I'm not the guy I was 10 years ago. I won't be the guy 10 years from now that I am today. That's just a reality. We don't have the same energy. We don't have, it's just how it goes. And we get tired. I don't know about you. We're 20 plus years into this endeavor, and I don't have the same energy I once had just because it's a monumental task to create, build, refine, and maintain what we do for each and every
in
one
a time where it is harder and harder and harder to make margin. And again, we're not just complaining about the problem. In a few, we're going to get to the solution and why we are, in my opinion, one of the only companies able to offer a solution to this broad and widespread problem.
Exactly. So now we have this dynamic whereby everybody out there that has even an iota of knowledge in this space says, listen, we're going to see 2/3, upwards of 3/4 of these 32 million businesses hit the sales blocks within a confined window of time. Well, anybody that has even a remote understanding of whether of demand and product, right? When you look at the value of anything, it's based on how much product is out there and what the demand is. Well, these folks were already in trouble. Another statistic that exists is Main Street business owners, 92% of them require the sale of that business to fund anywhere from 60 to 100% of their retirement. So we have a whole lot of data, a whole lot of stats coming to bear here in 2019. We've got a disproportionate number of businesses that are going to go up for the sales block in a same or similar amount of time, thereby driving down the value, driving down the price, right? It's not a seller's market. It's all day long a buyer's market. Now we add to that the dynamic that it's of critical import that these folks sell their businesses and sell them for as high a value as could be achieved. Yet that's not going to be done.
They can't afford to take a hit.
No, they can't afford to take a hit. Now we add to that the fact that, wait a minute, who's going to buy these businesses? Right, Ryan, who's going to buy them?
Yeah.
Well, the up and comers, the Gen Xers, guys like us, we already have our businesses. You're not hitting your 40s in your 50s going, now's a great time to start.
The only time we're buying something, and we do this, is we're buying complementary companies.
Yep.
I call them legs on the table.
Yes.
If it's not a leg on the table, I'm not interested. I don't care what a sweetheart deal it is. That's the only thing I'm building in my 40s is legs under our table.
So who are the 20-somethings, the 30-somethings, the early 40-somethings that might buy? They're millennials, right? Plenty of you. Now, there's nothing wrong with millennials. In fact, millennials have demonstrated an extreme entrepreneurial spirit. In fact, again, that's why you're here. And when we look at millennials, we look at as we came through COVID, what did we see? Millennials were the ones out there starting businesses, starting side gigs, biz ops, franchises, all sorts of things. But what type of business did they start? Ryan, what type of business did they start?
Well, we saw this, heavy in the aspect of side gig businesses.
Yes.
And this comes with its own host of problems. I'm a little jealous sometimes because as a business that has brick and mortar and all the problems that come with brick and mortar, employees, staff, if you're watching this, love you guys all, but having staff is complicated. Having brick and mortar is complicated. Having physical phone systems as though it's back in 2000 again. These are all complexities. When I look at the millennial model they've embraced, I'm a little bit jealous, but Jason, it does come with a huge disadvantage that can really cut into cash flow, can really cut into profitability.
Absolutely.
So these are, again, challenges.
So again, if you're a Main Street business owner and you're one of 32 million, right, 2/3, 3/4 putting their business up for sale within this confined window of time, thereby driving down the value of that business, And not just driving it down. The statistics are such that 3/4 of those will cease to exist because there's not enough buyers. Going back to what we were just touching on, why are there not enough buyers? Because millennials don't desire brick and mortar. Because you guys know you can go out there and without dealing with all the complexities that Ryan was just talking about, the risks, the pitfalls, God forbid, another pandemic where you're shut down, you have the burden of your mortgage, the burden of your rent, the burden of all this stuff, yet you can't even put somebody in the building, right? All of this. And so you folks, millennials, you don't want these types of businesses. This creates an even more imperiled environment for Main Street. And so Ryan and I saw this coming, right? Whether you call us de facto economists, statisticians, whatever the case may be, we kind of are. We're self-studied, educated, et cetera, on these topics. And ahead of anything, we're observant people. We pay attention, right? We know what's going on.
I don't.
Well read.
Also, history repeats itself.
It
And I know
does, it
some
sure
people,
does.
oh, are you? Well, listen, we both enjoy history as a hobby, and because of that, you can look at this and you can say, well, I kind of see what happens with this, and you might say, oh wow, well, who could ever predict a pandemic? Listen, Jason, this trend was happening long before a pandemic. What the pandemic did was it took things that you and I talked about would take 5 years, and it happened in about 6 months.
Yeah, it did.
Luckily, not to like pat ourselves too on the back there, but we were heavy in the planning stages of transition and I would say evolution when the pandemic happened.
Mhm.
And there are really two things that I'm again getting ahead of myself that put us in a strong position when the pandemic happened. One, we were already thinking in those terms, but the other one that I want to touch on is that our services happen to really thrive in any market. Now, we're not going to dive into that now, but what I mean is in a pandemic, we're strong. In a red year, we're strong. In a blue year, we're strong. In an election time period, people say all the time, what if this happens? What if that happens with an election? What doesn't matter, because one of the things you're going to learn later, our main product is cash flow to businesses.
Absolutely.
And there is no Great Depression, cash flow needed. Okay. Great expansion. We go back to like the market runs that we saw. There were no business owners saying, I'm good. I mean, you know what? Like, it's been a good year. No, great profits lead to greater greed, and Great Depression and Great Recession leads to greater need.
Mhm.
So no matter what, we're in a strong position. So, I'd like to say we lucked out, but at the same time, luck didn't have a lot to do with where we're at today.
We were well prepared for this. I mean, in fact, when you take a look at it, as you were describing, our remote delivery systems, everything else, God forbid we encounter another COVID type environment, but we're well structured for it. We were well structured for the last one. We were prepared well in advance as all these other companies were scrambling with innovative and new delivery systems and consumers from an acquisition standpoint. We look at the statistics and you look at the sheer number of people, the trajectory that we were on, go back to 2010 to present, as far as online and remote purchasing, it was present, no question about it. But if you just go back to 2020 through 23, Amazon doubled its business, which is an astronomical figure when back in 2019, more than 100% of the adults in America were already doing purchases online. I want you guys to think about that for a second, Ryan, and let's comment on this. In 2019, 281 million people were engaging in online purchases, yet there were only 258 million adults in America. So when we talk about saturation, we talk about adoption, we talk about all that stuff, it already existed. Yet the byproduct of COVID and locking down businesses, right, preventing folks from doing things the way they always did something, Main Street business, face-to-face business, whatever the case may be, in that environment, what it did was take this natural progressive trajectory, and it did this. In fact, if you look at it on charts, it's this damn near 90-degree turn, right? That's, I guess, this to this would be 90. It was this to this. So I guess mathematically, that's probably about a 75% curve, but astronomical shift in trends, right? Delivery trends, buy trends, so on and so forth. Now, these things didn't end. And I would ask you, every single one of you on this call today, who among you said, okay, COVID's over, I'm back to doing 100% of my shopping on Main Street? Anybody?
No.
Did you?
No,
I didn't.
It changed patterns for life. But here's why. Because COVID didn't cause it. And this is what people don't get. COVID accelerated the trends that were already happening. We didn't see any new trend happen because of COVID. Okay. We saw trends accelerate that were already well on the way. You look at work from home. Work from home was on the
Oh,
rise
God, yeah.
prior to. You look at segmentation in software. You look at the rise of SaaS, which we're going to be talking about SaaS in a
Yep.
little bit because it's huge. Okay, you look at the rise of all these things. Jason, these things weren't caused by COVID. They
no.
were, listen, Zoom would be Zoom today, regardless of if COVID happened, because Zoom is
Exactly.
already tripling and quadrupling and 10x and 50xing down on their platform. It's just that COVID launched what would have taken 5 years into a 4 or 5 month period.
Exactly. So when we take a look and we did our snapshot, we did our historical walkthrough with you with regard to where these businesses were in 2019, right? They were aging out. They're in a highly competitive market. A lot of these senior business owners were struggling with the up and coming businesses to master online, right? Online mastery, new delivery systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There we are. Let's get the tongue to keep up with the brain. So now we have the introduction of COVID, and we have all of these dynamics that are incredibly painful for Main Street. And in fact, the dust hasn't even completely settled. I would challenge each and every one of you to do what I did and try to do the research to see how many businesses. What was the corporate death toll? I'm not talking about people. I don't want to, get into that. But what was the corporate death toll? Nobody knows. The government doesn't know. The best guesses are, well, we lost maybe 30%. We lost maybe 25%. We lost maybe 35%. Nobody really knows, right? We just don't. And it hasn't been fully realized yet, because on the heels of, you were already in tough shape. You were already a business, one of millions that were going to, or already had gone up to the sales blocks. I mean, plenty of these businesses that we interface with on a regular basis are already on their second, third, fourth iteration of preparing themselves for sales because it didn't work 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So there are those businesses that died. There are those businesses that have struggled and are barely hanging on and so desperately need to have a conversation with you today. Sorry, maybe not today, but after Tuesday. Right, Ryan?
Yeah.
After Tuesday's training, by God, they need to talk to you. So we have those businesses that have barely hung on. And then, yes, absolutely. Even during COVID, we had businesses that thrived. We had those businesses that were positioned just right. They were in the right market. They were pharmaceutical. They were grocery store chains. They were entertainment. They were online entertainment. All of these different structures that absolutely did quite well during this market space. And as Ryan stated a few moments ago, listen, if you've done exceedingly well, right, you need us. Right? Because all that money you would otherwise ship off to taxes, you would send off to Uncle Sam, the IRS, the ones we love stroking the check to every year, right? What could they do if we could work our magic through you? If we could work our magic and go ahead and keep all or the majority of that money in their pockets so that they could continue to reinvest in that business. They could continue, right, to innovate. They could continue to bring on the best talent, so on and so forth. There's not a business in America, not a single one, that's going to shrug off a conversation with you if that's their reality.
Well, this went from a nicety to a necessity.
Absolutely.
Okay. In 2019, it was a nicety if a business owner could pad 10 or 15 more percent. Now you look at it, Jason, and it's a necessity.
Absolutely.
You talk to a business. I just saw an article the other day, and it was talking about more and more businesses switching to surge pricing. And during those surge hours for their pricing, it's the only time they're profitable.
The only time.
The only time.
Yep.
So then you look at it, and what you have is you have businesses losing money 60, 70% of their time, hoping that maybe in a small fraction of window, they can make up the difference. Well, that's not a sustainable model.
No.
Especially not with rising costs in labor force, decreased amount of product and physical goods that are available.
Yes.
So this is where, Jason, bottom line, the solution is people need to keep more of their own money. And I keep teeing ahead to, this may be self-serving of what we do here at Stride. But if I had to sum it up, I would say that we help businesses find and keep cash flow.
Absolutely.
And I know, again, I'm ahead of myself, but you need to understand what, Jason, I think at this point, people kind of have a good understanding what the problem is for Main Street. But let's talk about these folks right here. This isn't Main Street. You have an opportunity, and Jason, I would say some people would say, wow, you can't use words like opportunity or capitalize or, take advantage of, because these are dirty words. What you just described is there's a problem in America, and now you're saying capitalize on it. Well, I'm sorry, replace it with whatever adjective you want. But here's the bottom line. There's a problem, and every time there's been a problem in the history of the world, there's been someone willing to solve that problem, and the people that were not only willing, but have figured out an effective way to solve it, profited from that.
Mhm.
So replace your adjective with the one that your heart is comfortable with. But at the end of the day, there's money to be made, there's opportunity to be had. And if you need to feel good about that in the process, what if I told you you'd literally be saving Main Street in the process of doing it?
How about that? Right? Is that not enough altruism? I think it is. And honestly, I don't think profit or capitalism are dirty words. I know you don't either. I'm sometimes a little more outspoken of the two. Guys, listen, I have no qualms whatsoever about facilitating billions and billions and billions of dollars of revenue off of saving Main Street, off of saving medical institutions, off of doing the things we do. Right? There's nothing wrong with being very, very, very well compensated. In fact, exceedingly well compensated for doing the good that you can now do, for being the unicorn that you now are. Right? So yeah, you guys get the problem, you get the idea. We now want to talk to you about who's the right fit, right? Who's the right fit here at Stride? Who are we good for and who's good for us? Because it's a marriage. This is an opportunity for us to work together. Your energy, your relationships with our strategies, our system, our support, our point and click tools, so that together, in a united front, together, we can go out there and we can implement massive change, sweeping change, critical change on Main Street. Because as you said at the outset of the call, listen, we can't afford 5 years from now, 10 years from now to be driving around and see ghost towns. We can't. We can't afford for the structure, the Main Street entities that exist, that employ 62% of Americans, not to exist. We can't afford such a level of consolidation under the Amazons of the world, such that so much control, so much capital control, so much product control, so much delivery system control is all under the hands of a finite few. We can't afford that. We can't afford it as a culture. We can't afford it as a people. And that's not how America was built, right? We have antitrust laws, anti-monopoly laws. We have all this stuff that the modernization flies in the face of and is very, very dangerous. So again, there's nothing wrong with being exceedingly well compensated to do the good that nobody else is either capable of doing or desires to do, that we have greater than a 20-year track record of facilitating.
Well,
absolutely.
Let's talk about you though. So yeah, we can't afford to have Main Street disappear for all the reasons that we just said. But let me tell you what you can't afford. You can't afford a corporate overlord to decide your entire future. You can't afford for 1% of the world, or let's be honest, 1/10 of 1% of the world, to decide what kind of car you're going to drive, what kind of bank account you're going to have when you retire, what kind of hours you're going to work, whether or not you have to do that inside of an office or out. Screw that. Okay. We can't afford that. Everybody watching this right now is watching it because deep down, there's some part of you that knows that true freedom only comes when you decide what you do, when you decide how you spend your day, when you decide how you're going to make your money. Okay. And so really at the end of the day, yeah, we've got services we're preferentiating to. You know why? Not because there are services. Yeah, that plays a part of it, but really because we're out there saving Main Street, like we just talked about. But more importantly, we feel, and maybe this is too broad, Jason, maybe people will want to string us up in the comments for this. We feel we're saving entrepreneurialism.
We are. Absolutely, we are. And we're making millionaires every day when we do it. That's the thing we want you guys to see. One of the things we come down to when we talk about who are we a fit for and who's a fit for us? Are you alive? Are you breathing? Do you have ambition? Well, we know you do. In fact, the statistics in America today are such that 93% of adult Americans have a side gig. Ryan, 93%. Are you among the 93%? Are you? I think you are. You're on this call. I highly doubt that you're among the 7%. You haven't taken the leap. And now today is the first time you're jumping on one of these calls to take. But if it is, welcome to the show. Welcome to finally taking your destiny and putting it in the palm of your hand, not somebody else's. So how do we identify who's a good fit? Again, live, breathing. Yeah, we want a little bit more than that. We want some ambition. We want that entrepreneurial spirit. That's really all it takes. If you have a side gig, you're thinking about a side gig. First of all, let's take a look at this. We're going to get to you professionals here in just a moment. But when you look at your side gigs, when you look at your alternatives, you look at the things you guys are doing now, let's go ahead and talk about the typical side gig costs between $2,400 and $16,000 to get up and running. The typical side gig is most profitable in its first year. As time progresses, the profits scale back, right? That's their little trick. That's their little ploy to get you embedded in the system, make you anchored to the process, and then they start peeling back the revenue so that more and more of the work is done on your dollar at your expense. Any Uber drivers on this call, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
So listen, guys, we're $99 a month. right? You're not risking anything to throw your hat in the ring. In fact, when you come, you take a look at us, you start working with us, what you're going to see is that thousands of professionals have joined us on our weekly Friday call that we've now been running for over 2 decades. We're approaching a quarter of a century running this call. And every single week on this call, we bring on your peers to talk about their successes, give you their backgrounds, how they got here, right? What it was that appealed to them, what they've encountered since they've been here, and the successes they've had in an incredibly brief time. Quite often, right? Our target is 3 guest speakers a week. Quite often we're over that because we have so many great stories to share with you guys. Quite often, our guest speakers are in their first, second, third week with us when they're on here talking about, oh my God, my mind is blown. I can't believe what we accomplished. You know, they'll come on and they're going to share their story and say, listen, I had high expectations. I've been on the calls. I've heard what people had to say. I've just blown away in my first 1, 2, 3 weeks. I have blown away even my greatest hopes.
Well, here's why. Because you think about the average side gig, and this is one of my problems with side gigging as a whole, is that let's just take Uber. And I'm not picking on Uber, by the way. I use Uber and Lyft almost exclusively when I travel. So I love it. I'm not picking on them. I'm using it as an example, though. So let's say I'm Ryan the Realtor, because that sounds good. And so I've got my business, and I want to really break in from residential to commercial, because, by the way, whatever service your heart desires to offer, everything you watch is going to tell you that you want to be B2C, not B2B. Okay, that's where the money's at. Everybody that's in it knows B2C, business to commercial is where, I'm sorry, B2B is where you want to be at, not B2C. I said that backwards. Sorry. So anyways, I'm a realtor. I want to break into commercial, and, you know, so I'm trying to do that. And then I start Ubering. Okay. Well, here's the problem. There's no overlap. Okay. So I've got my real estate business, and then I got to come home from work at 6, 7 o'clock, and I got to go get in my car, and I got to do something else. And here's the problem. All the money I'm making over here, it doesn't contribute over here. Remember what I talked about earlier. If you think about business opportunities in general as legs to your table, okay? In other words, Stride's not your table. Stride's a leg to your table.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't presume to be important enough to be your table. I wouldn't presume to tell you what your table should be, because that's something you may already know, or you may find out in the future. That's part of the fun of entrepreneurialism. Absolutely. Is owning your own table. Okay. But here's the thing with Uber. It can't be a leg to my table, Ryan the Realtor. Okay. It's a side gig. It's called that for a reason. So I come home and I earn side money doing side time, side everything. I got to work twice as many hours, likely for close to minimum wage. Now, let me use Stride as an example selfishly. Okay. Mm-hmm. If my table is real estate and it's mostly got a big pedestal called residential real estate, and I start building my commercial real estate leg, if you can imagine, under this table. Well, one of the things Stride does, one of many that we're going to talk about on Tuesday, is we find massive tax credits for commercial properties. We find massive tax credits for business owners, employers. So if Ryan the Realtor wants to break into the commercial market, one of the legs under my table could be a tax division.
Absolutely.
One could be an expense reduction division. One could be a recovery division. Okay. So what I've done is, Jason, to your point earlier, for $99, I added 3 legs to my table. And here's my problem. And I kind of hijack. I'll get back to you in just a second.
And
but
real quick, don't get overwhelmed, folks. You just heard a bit of stuff that, like, whoa. I jumped on this call and I'm hearing about a tax division, and I'm point and click, ease of use, days, hours, and people are up and running. Don't be intimidated. Don't worry about that. You're going to show up Tuesday. We're going to show you how in a mere minutes with point and click, you can get clients without even talking to them.
So my problem with
continue on. I'm sorry.
My problem with the average side gig is that it's side. Mm-hmm. It doesn't contribute to my table. It doesn't contribute to my goal. In fact, if we were looking through the top reasons that people side gig, out of the 6 that statistically people have, it only contributes to one of them, and that is it helps with cash flow. Okay. But at the end of the day, what we figured out is we don't want to just help you. We want to help you with cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to make money, but we want to help you build your table. We want to help you get in front of people. And I guess that's just my personal problem. Jason, keep going. But that's my personal problem with side gigs as a whole, is I think they distract from building your table as opposed to add on to.
Well, they do. And I mean, and so often, again, professionals, we're going to get to you guys here in just a second. But when you look at a side gig, in fact, when you look at any business model outside of we as an organization, you have to go and create your own market, right? You have highly competitive environments. And I would challenge anybody on this call right now that's involved in a side gig, entertaining a side gig, whether it's a franchise, a biz op, I really don't care what it is. You're starting from a market of saturation. You're starting from a position of saturation is a better way to say it. And when you start from a position of saturation, you now need to go out and create your own market. You need to find a way to carve out your piece of that market. Remember what we said early on at the beginning of the call. We have zero competition for what we do. You don't have to create anything because we have 32 million Main Street businesses, 32 million businesses that are already looking now for what you're able to bring to the table, right? For $99 a month, you're able to bring to the table the solutions they need. Again, if they're swimming in capital, that means they're swimming in a tax liability. And instead of paying that tax liability, you get to flip the switch, the click of a button, the sharing of a website. And as a result, they get to self-navigate, or you can lead them through it, whatever, again, your approach is, your desired tactic. And they can, again, flip that switch and put tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in their pocket to thereby negate or eliminate that tax bill, to pump that money back into their business to continue growing, to buy out a competitor, to consolidate the market around them and bring everything back in-house, to pay wages, all of these different things we talk about, reinvest in themselves. The flip side, these businesses that experienced the dynamics they did leading up to 19, then they suffered through lockdowns, then they suffered through partial reopenings, then they suffered through the shift of the employees demanding 150, 175% of the salary to do less work from home. Then they had supply chain issues. Then they had inflationary issues. How much more can these folks take? And on top of it, they're perpetually in tax season. Right? Tax season for them, Ryan, tax season for them isn't April 15th, is it?
It's all year round. They're getting hit every couple of months with tax burden and tax liability, at least quarterly.
Absolutely. So again, instead of having to go out and create a market, instead of having to go out and carve your piece out of saturated markets, now instead you've got 32 million Main Street business owners that spend every waking moment trying to find ways to make themselves more profitable. Every book they buy, every seminar they attend, every hire they engage in, every fire they engage in, every consultation they paid for, everything they do all day long is about making themselves more profitable. It's about enhancing cash flow. And now you're in a position to raise your hand. Listen, who among you didn't stop in 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, interface with 30 different businesses in the last week? How cool is it that now every place you go, you get to have a basic conversation with, hey, listen, one of the things I do is we spend our money. Yep, everything's done on contingency, by the way. We spend our money to make you more profitable. Boy, if there's not a more exciting one-liner out there, you're always going to get the, what is that?
Well, can you imagine people say, what do you do for a living? And you say, I find companies money.
Yep. On our dollar, at no risk to them. How cool is that? So listen, for those of you that are biz ops, there's no better biz op, right? Biz ops franchises, you go look at that, go look at the statistics. They're going to wave in front of you that 5-year number that, boy, we don't have the kill rate. We don't have the death rate that hanging a shingle has. Yep, we've done a research. Stretch it out another 3 years, on average, 3 years. So a total of 8 years, a biz op and a franchise have the exact same failure rate. That 96% failure rate is any other business, any other person hanging a shingle. All it does, it gives you bulk buying, bulk this, bulk that, a little bit of name recognition. It just drags out the bleeding a little bit longer. Your biz ops, your side gigs, we told you guys, 2,400 to 16,000 just to get started. And how many of you are already on your second, third, fourth, fifth? Because you know what? It didn't quite shake out the last go around. How far in a hole are you? How much mileage did you put on your car, thereby devaluing it? What have you put into fuel, brakes, rotors, tires? What have you put into personal energy, personal time, dollars spent on websites, all this stuff? And where are you? You know what? We're going to let you guys listen to our Friday calls, and folks are going to come on. One of the recordings we're going to have you listen to is Ron M. Remember Ron? Yeah. Ryan? Ron came on. Ron signed up in late November. You're going to hear him tell his own story. Ron signed up in late November, but late November was Thanksgiving, so we got put up on a shelf. So then, December came, but wait a minute, Ron did a marketing campaign and he got his results, and he had to see that through, or else he would have wasted the money. So we got put up on a shelf. And then what happens? Oh, Christmas and New Year's. So we stayed on the shelf. Then from mid-January to mid-March, mid-January to mid-February, 1 month, mid-February to mid-March, 2 months. In 2 months' time, he came on our Friday mastermind call and he boasted about $54 million in fees and commissions. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. You think it's sunk in? I don't know, guys, real quick. What side
Jay,
gig
I don't
have you-
think it did sink in, because I don't think the average person knows what $4 million looks like on a piece of paper, let alone imagining what that looks like in terms of fees and commissions.
No. But you're going to hear it week after week after week on our call, and you now get to participate. So now let's peel back. Let's talk about professionals. The call's running long. How about you professionals, right? I'm not calling you side giggers unprofessional, but how about you professionals, right? You folks out there that went out and you got a securities license, you got an insurance license. Ryan, you mentioned real estate before. Your tax professionals, they're legal professionals, business brokers, business consultants. These folks that are in a professional capacity, marketers, if we have any marketers on a call now that work with business owners, all of these folks that interface in these spaces. Again, I'm going to point out some of the same things I did before. What are you doing to differentiate yourself when you have over 1 million, in fact, many of these spaces, over 2 million competitors? What in the hell are you doing to differentiate yourself? And I mean real and tangible differentiation. I'm not talking, well, I'll skip the kids' games. I'll interrupt vacations. I'm available 24/7. First of all, those are intangibles. Those are absurd, right? And everybody says it. Nobody cares about your silly little assertions about how you will destroy your personal life, right? And your effort to be these folks' hero, because they don't care. They don't care whatsoever. And you're up against several million people saying the exact same thing. If you want to differentiate yourself, you need tangible differentiation, something you can wrap your hand around. And I got to tell you guys, when you're pumping millions and millions and millions of dollars back on a Main Street, in fact, in our system right now, Ryan, just so you folks are aware, in our system right now, if you go in and take a snapshot at our portal, there's $48 billion. I'm not looking at yesterday. I'm not talking about what you and your peers bring in today or tomorrow. Right now, there's $48 billion sitting in our system to go back out on a Main Street. $48 billion. That makes you different. That's tangible differentiation. That is nothing like any would-be competitor. And when you can walk into any business on Main Street, and I mean any business on Main Street, and you say, listen, in a mere seconds, I'm going to show you what we can do for you. And I'm not going to ask you to take a leap of faith, because I'm going to remind you professionals, every single one of you out there, in fact, anybody on this call that's ever sold anything, what have you encountered? Every piece of business you've ever done, bar none, has been a faith-based transaction. You've always asked somebody, buy from me, invest in me, put your faith in me in some way, shape, or form. Every form of sales, even down to a doctor, an attorney, whatever the case may be. Whenever somebody has an alternative, you're in a sales environment. You're selling yourself, your product, your services, your knowledge, whatever the case may be. You're in a sales environment. And every single time you've been in a position such that you had to ask people, listen, hopefully I'm so convincing that you'll take that leap of faith. You'll go against working with somebody else who may be better. You never get your time back. You'll go against spending money somewhere else where they may get the job done. You may not. Again, all of these risks. Me. Invest in me, buy from me, put your faith in me. At some point, way down the road, you'll see this was a good idea. We're the antithesis of that. There's no me. It's you every time. We're going to invest in you, Mr. Business Owner, Mrs. Business Owner. We're going to invest in you, Mr. and Mrs. Agent. We're putting up the money. And then we're going to go produce the results, many of them instantaneously. Immediate proof of concept, no bait and switch, no nonsense. And now again, you're that unicorn. You're that X. Whatever that X is for your professional capacity, none of your peers have it. They're all trying to break through the door with that thing they want to sell. And their goal is to convince that business owner that they want to buy it as bad as this person wants to sell it. And again, that doesn't work. Every one of those industries have between 2 and 4% close rates because of that dynamic. We close everything. And the reason we close everything is because we're bringing salvation to the table, whether it's one end of the spectrum or the other. If you owe a ton of taxes because life's been so great, we're going to bring the salvation. That is, why give up that money? You earned it. You know what best to do with it. You're not going to squander it. You'll put it back into your business. You'll employ more Americans. You'll create a stronger business. You'll maintain Main Street. You'll continue with the innovation that Americans are known for, and you'll carry this country and your legacy forward, right? They know how to do that. We need to keep the money in their pocket, not Uncle Sam's. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, they do not know how they're going to make payroll this week. We're going to put the money in their pocket so they can do that, so they can live to fight another day. And collectively, we're going to carry them on. And again, we're going to maintain Main Street. We're going to pay you very well for doing it. Now, in the process, you become that hero. In the process, we free up hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. Now, back to you as a professional. Any professionals on this call have some idea what you do with a client that you just put hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in their pocket? Ryan, you could make some
thing you want.
Exactly.
Anything you, and that's the part that you talk about the Friday call. Yeah. I'm going to reference Carl. We heard a great. So Carl had a local medical practice that he was. It's pretty good medical practice. He was trying to get into for some financial products. He couldn't get in. Why? Because you call with that pitch. You're one of thousands of people calling with that pitch. But he went in with a different pitch, the one that we're going to teach you on Tuesday.
Yep.
He went in and said, "Hey, I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars for your facility available. How'd you like to do that?" Now, once you get someone, sometimes a physical check. I'm ahead of myself, but we'll talk about that on Tuesday. Sometimes a physical check from the IRS. Jason, beliefability goes like this. And guess what? You're not selling anymore.
No.
You're not selling anything. No, you're in a relationship with that person. And you know what they naturally say to you? They say, "Hey, is there anything else you do?" Okay. People say, "How do I transition? How do I bridge to my table?" You don't have to. They beg you.
That's right.
For the rest of the table when you come in with big money, coming off the gate.
Solutions, creative solutions. Nobody in their life has ever come up with this stuff before. Their tax planner, their financial planner, to the extent they have other professionals, nobody in their life has done what you're now capable of doing. So you go to the top of the pile. The other professionals defer to you. Now, real quick, I don't want that to intimidate anybody either. If you're on this call right now going, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't know about the skill." Again, Ryan, you guys are going to learn on Tuesday. We're not asking you to become.
You don't have to know anything.
Nothing, right? You need to learn a couple things very simply. Where do you go to get what you need to share details, to share content, to share your website? Where do you go? No problem. We're going to show you that in a matter of seconds. Point, click. Here I am. What do I say? No problem. Point, click. Here's your verbal script. Here's your text script. Here's your email. Here's your social post, right? Here's your stride.me. But listen, when folks show up to the shows we put on, the different things we do, the training, you apply everything we told, cold, that thing can close up to 45% of the time. An astronaut, Ryan, oh my God, 45. Where have you guys ever seen you send a link out into the world and somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know us, opens that link and 45% of the time they're a paying client before they close it? Unheard of. If a call is needed, great, no problem. We pay for them. We have our subject matter experts to jump on a call as part of your team to handle that for you. Again, no intimidation, no anything. You need to jump into the system and take a look now. We're going to talk to you real quick. TMS. Ryan, TMS, right? This was your brainchild. I can't lay any claim on this one. This is Ryan.
Yeah.
The most amazing delivery system. We started the call. Disruptive services and groundbreaking delivery system, ease of use. This guy right here, Ryan, let's talk a little bit about
let's talk about, so TMS, first of all, what does it stand for? Tax Management System. Okay. Now you might be like right off the bat already overwhelmed. Don't be. And here's why. I just told you what you need to know about it several times. We get cash flow for businesses. Now, mainly the way we do that, and you're going to hear about this on Tuesday. Remember I talked about your table? Well, listen, TMS is one of the legs on your table. And it's a very, if I might say so, sexy leg.
Sure is.
Okay. Because what TMS does, this is the way I want you to think about it. We've developed what QuickBooks did for businesses and allowing them to take payments, send invoices, make payroll. Okay. They took something that was highly complicated and they made it really easy for a client to do. And if you were a salesperson for QuickBooks, really easy to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've never sold QuickBooks, but I could. It's software that helps you pay your employees, send invoices, accept payments, track time, manage projects. It makes the job easier for your TPA. There you go. You're welcome, QuickBooks. I just gave you an elevator pitch out of the top of my head. Okay, well, what tax management system does, it's like QuickBooks for businesses, except what it does is it finds trillions of dollars in incentives for businesses. In fact, this year, there's $2.3 trillion available. So this is what I want you to think of. You've got starting on Tuesday, you've got $2.3 trillion in your pocket. And here's the name of the game. And it's simple. Go give money away. Okay. It really comes down to that.
Sure does.
Go give money away. And here's the second scenario that I need you to understand. The more money you give away, the more money you make.
Absolutely.
If I had to explain our business model, not to a client, but to you, that's the way I would say it. I would say there's $2.3 trillion available. You get to go give it away and be the hero. And the more money you give away, the better. Now, how are you going to do it? Are you going to become an expert? No. Are you going to have to learn new pitches and products and deck sheets and everything? No, not at all. I don't want you to be an expert. What I want you to do,
things. We pay for the experts. We don't need you to spend a month, 6 months, a year getting up and running. We want you running tomorrow. So we created a mentorship oriented program, right? There's scholastic programs and then there's mentoring. We created a mentor program, but we made it even better. You don't actually have to get mentored.
No.
We pay the mentors to show up on your behalf when needed and do your job for you.
Yeah. All you have to do is educate people in the lightest of ways that there is money available. Their next practice or thing they're going to say is, what do you mean? And then you're going to show them. Okay. And the way you're going to show them is through us. We're going to show you all that on Tuesday. Now, the other thing I want people to understand, Jason, we can circle more with TMS. TMS, remember I said it's a leg of Stride. Okay. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't presume to overwhelm you with the number of legs that you have available with Stride. Because Stride could, now I said earlier, not the table. Stride could be your whole table if you wanted it to be.
Absolutely.
Maybe you don't have an idea right now. Well, guess what? There's so many legs on the table and there's more money than you could ever presume to make available. So if that's your goal, if your goal is just to break out of what you're doing, no problem. Stride can do that. If your goal is to get in front of more people this year for whatever's near and dear to your heart, your table, well, I'm saying that TMS can be the leg that makes that happen because, Jason, there is nothing sexier. There's no pitch you could do besides walk into a business and say, I'm going to make up. Let's say I'm walking into a manufacturer. I already know a manufacturer. I can walk in and say, I find money for manufacturers in Southeast Michigan. How do you do that? Let me show you. Mm-hmm. And then take them to something that, Jason, is at over 40% conversion rate. Now you might say, I've never heard of anything of the 40%. You've never been giving away trillions of dollars for free before, have you? Of course we have a high. Listen, guys, if we didn't have a 40+% conversion rate, we'd be doing something wrong. We're giving away free money for a living. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're not selling insurance. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We're not selling cars. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And we're not delivering food to people's houses. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We just happen to be in the business of giving trillions of dollars away. And here's the key. And I want you to be in the business of giving trillions of dollars in money away.
Absolutely. And listen, guys, that's every single person on this call. Your mindset, it needs to go up a level or two. Yeah. Right? Stop thinking millions.
Stop thinking small.
We swim in trillions. Ryan just talked to you about tax in trillions and trillions. I'm also going to point out Main Street businesses, they control $32 trillion of wealth. That is a larger containment of wealth than has ever existed or currently exists within any population in all of the entirety of the human history. That's what we're talking about. Listen, we swim in trillions, we produce billions. Stop thinking about millions. Yeah. That's the way you guys need to look at this. And you talk about ease of application of the brilliance of what he built. One of our guest speakers came on and talked about their 10-year-old without any training and any support, spontaneously, I almost said spontaneously on the spot. Is a great story. The fella came on our Friday call and he said, listen, we're selling a house. So we're doing a bunch of landscaping and just making it pretty, right? They had the contractors in there painting, you know, all the little things you do just to get the house just right for sale. So they ran out to the landscaper and the son was nagging at him about the next video game. And he hates video games. The father does. And he said, as he told the story, semi-introverted child, he thought, well, I'll challenge him in this way. He'll never take me up on it. Not only did the kid take him up on it with no support, he walked up. Where's my phone? You have a phone handy? He walked up with his phone. There we are. Pretend. Thank you, Ryan. He walked up with his phone, right? Staggered through the one sentence his father told him to use, turned it on, opened the website, opened the .me, and next thing you know, paying client before they walked out that day. Oh my God, a 10-year-old without any training and any support produced thousands and yes, thousands of dollars in commissions, hundreds of thousands of dollars of benefit. Now listen, if a 10-year-old without any support, without any training, without any guidance, without any experience that you guys are all getting Tuesday can muster, guess you wanted that video game pretty bad, can muster the confidence to go up and have that conversation, so can you. The simple reality is every single one of you and every single person you know and every single person they know, your sphere of influence, no more than 1 or 2 degrees removed, you directly have access and currently interface with collectively thousands, if not tens of thousands of businesses. And they're all out there raising their hand saying, I need help. Just need you now to raise your hand and say, here I am. That's it. That's what it comes down to. And guys, that's what we're going to talk about on Tuesday. We're going to show you how to make this stuff work. So here's the deal. You're all getting an email, right? It's already in your system. In fact, if you were to look right now, you've got an email in the system. You've got a link right now, Ryan, right below this, right now, right below us. Look down. You can activate right now, and it's not a matter of can, it should. Activate right now. You're going to get a follow-up email after activation outlining Fast Track. Now, we want you to participate in Fast Track.
Quick Start.
Quick Start. I said, oh my God.
It was Fast Track for like 15 years. So we're all good. Quick
There we
Start.
go.
Quick Start. Let me do the slogan. Quick Start. Your quickest way to your first commission. There you go.
There you are. Thank you, Ryan. So jump right into that. Make sure you dive into that so you're prepared on Tuesday to absorb the things we're telling you, right? We want you to get in. Once you get it set up, we got to get your website built.
Yeah, your landing pages built,
yep.
your personalized social ads, your email templates, all of those things get built instantaneously.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that sets you up. I know we've been talking a lot about Tuesday, but Jason, that's because I'm really excited about Tuesday and what we're rolling out.
No, our Tuesdays are explosive. Listen, we're showing you guys how to hit the ground running. And cost seg, you guys are going to learn about cost seg, one of many products on this call, right? On Tuesday, later that day, you could close a cost seg and have your first commission just days later. I want you guys to think about that. There's
nothing you could do that would get you in with the new business that quickly, that would get you up and running for virtually no, I say virtually no money. Jason, anybody, listen, if $99 is a hang up for you, I understand, and I don't want to challenge you, but at the same time, this isn't for you. Because if you're looking at this, if you think you can go drive Uber and not have a $99 investment, by the way, you're burning miles on your car, you're burning all this. You think you can do DoorDash or anything else, and you're not building it. So listen, that right there, we're going to use that. We're going to build your websites. We're going to build your custom social posts. We're going to have our marketing team go to work for you and do all those things. But most importantly,
proprietary products, patents, provisional patents, closing teams, subject matter experts, personal training, coaches, mentors, weekly training calls, direct access to ownership, and all the management team. Keep going. What else were you going to say?
I don't remember.
That's what happens when I jump in and interrupt. Point is, guys, show up Friday. I said Friday. Show up on a Friday call on our mastermind calls, but show up Tuesday. Get in, activate your account, activate it now. Get your email, participate in, follow directions, do everything it says, and then get your butt on Tuesday. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where we're going to set you up so that you're the next guest speaker on our Friday call, talking about $54 million in fees and commissions in 2 months. I challenge every one of you. Let's have one of you beat him. Let's go bigger. Let's get there faster. And honestly, we've got a brand new product we rolled out a handful of months ago that is paying hundreds of thousands, even $1 million plus for a single deal. He didn't have any of that. So every single one of you are positioned to blow the doors even off of his record.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys.
I appreciate everybody hanging this long when this is what happens when we go live. We take up a lot of time, but we will see you Tuesday and we will not go live. I will commit to you that we'll keep it less than an hour on Tuesday.
We sure will.
And I also commit to you that we'll get you making money by the end of the call.
Absolutely. So. Thank you. We'll see you soon.